All right. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Saturn Return Diaries podcast. My name is Courtney, and today I'm super excited. We are talking to the beautiful Sam. I am associating people with their Instagram handles because I feel like that's our lives nowadays. So I'm like, it's spiritual Sam, you know.
Yeah.
Which is super fun and exciting. I'm excited for you guys to hear today. If you're on YouTube, hello, you can see us, which is awesome. Don't forget to subscribe. And if you're in the podcast places, you would have already heard how I, met Sam, and it's kind of, I think, just through Instagram. But yeah, let's dive into this conversation and see what happened during her Saturn return. So hi, how you doing?
Hi. Good. How are you?
Good. Welcome to the podcast.
Thanks. I'm so excited to be here.
And your first one.
And my first podcast. Yeah.
Yay.
Super exciting.
Yeah. So exciting. It's like, I feel very honored that you're on my podcast as the first, like your first.
Yeah.
All right. So I always like to start off with the podcast is kind of like getting to know who you are. And I'm one of those crazy people who likes to, not crazy, I shouldn't use that word. I like to dive into the subconscious and the psyche in different ways. So my favorite question is, who are you as a person versus like, what do you do and all those things?
Yeah.
How would you describe yourself?
So as a person, I'm a wife and a mom. I have one very spiritual 2.5-year-old. She's very spiritual. It's pretty amazing. So my priority. And then, yeah, I'm a spiritual medium, Reiki master. And yeah, that's me in a nutshell. Basically a mom and a wife.
Yeah, amazing. And are you like, how would you describe your energy to someone?
So my energy is very open. I've always found that like anyone I meet or like at work, I find people open up to me very easily. Like I'll meet someone like for the first time and they'll start telling me about their life story or like problems they're having. I feel like people come to me a lot for guidance, which kind of brought me into like the Reiki realm of helping people with energy healing because I love helping others and I feel like I have a very warm and welcoming energy. So yeah.
Yeah, I love that. I feel like that really describes a lot of your astrology too. So we can dive into that. Yeah. And then so I like to profile people. Also, by the way, I definitely want to talk about this very spiritual child.
Yeah, we'll have to talk about it.
Oh my God, I'm like obsessed. People probably know this. Well, if you follow my personal account, you'd know this, but I'm obsessed with like birth and like intuitive kids in the next generation. Yeah. So I'm always so curious on like what that's like, especially as like, like you said, you're very open, you're a medium, like you're psychic. Like what happens when you have a baby? Like what does that happen to that child, Yeah. We'll come back to that. But what is your sun, moon, and rising, if you know it?
So I'm a Pisces sun. Taurus moon is rising.
Oh, you cut out a little bit there. Can you say it one more time?
Oh, did I? Sorry. So I'm a Pisces sun.
Yeah.
Taurus moon and Pisces rising.
Yes.
So double Pisces.
Yeah.
Which my daughter also has double Pisces.
Is she Pisces rising as well?
No, she's Pisces sun and moon.
Okay.
And then Virgo rising.
Oh my gosh. Okay, that's the opposite to your rising, which is very wild. Fun fact for you, Pisces rising and Aries rising are the most rarest of the rising signs. Yeah. So you and I are both Pisces rising. It's so weird because for the longest time I never met anybody else who had Pisces rising, and within like the last year of kind of opening more to like, spiritual entrepreneurship and different people, it's like more, but it's the rarest just because of how things work and like the way things turn. So anyway, fun fact.
That's so cool.
Yeah. So what parts of your chart do you feel like with your sun, moon, rising do you relate to?
I'm 100% a Pisces. Like I relate so much to being a Pisces.
Yeah.
And like even I see that in my daughter too. Like we're both very sensitive, compassionate. yeah, I'm just like, I feel like I'm so Pisces. So because I never like, until I started my spiritual journey, I just knew I'm a Pisces. I didn't know about like that there's moon rising, right? So when I saw that it was there twice, I'm like, well, this makes sense. Like,
Yeah.
I feel like I'm like so Pisces.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that so much. And so even when you said like that openness that people come to you, that is very Piscean, because Pisces are like the last of the zodiac sign. They've been
Yeah.
on this planet probably 1,000 times, like, and so people are like, oh, you're this like wise person that I feel open enough and I can share things with on an emotional level. So makes very much sense.
Yeah.
Um, and so I guess from that, like is there anything else that you feel like kind of comes up for you when we're talking about astrology and what you do know in regards to your own chart that's sort of like, I guess, can give us like more information about you, if anything?
Let me see. I was like, yeah, I honestly need to book a session with you because I don't know much about astrology or like about my chart. Like I need to learn more. But I
Okay.
just feel like I have like, I don't know, I just have this really strong connection to being Pisces. And my mom's a Pisces too.
Mm,
So my daughter's due date was supposed to be, I guess what's after Pisces, Aries?
yeah.
She was supposed to be Aries. And I'm like, no, I want her to be a people early. I want her to be a Pisces because my mom and I are Pisces. It'll be 3 Pisces women. And then she was born 15 days early. Also, I always said I wanted a baby before I was 30. And her due date was after my 30th birthday. And I had her 5 days before my 30th birthday.
Okay. And that is legit, like, that's your Saturn return. Like, boom.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. So much to unpack there. That's so incredible. I love this so much. Before we kind of like go into the Saturn stuff, I want to ask you, like, knowing that your daughter has these like kind of similarities to you, but also I'm sure there's like mirrors that kind of come up. Like, what do you notice in her that might be connected to that Piscean nature, or that you're like, ooh, like her spiritual side? Like, tell us about
Yeah. I just find her like she's just so much like me, like her personality.
that.
But like when it becomes to the spiritual side, she'll like say things about people like she met. Like so for instance, my husband's grandfather died. She was only 3 months old. So she met him, but she's not gonna remember him.
Yeah.
We were outside and we have like an umbrella, like a sun umbrella, that was his. And she goes, that's Papa's umbrella. And I'm like, I said to my husband, did you tell her that? He's like, no. I'm like, okay. And then the other day, she was saying to me, she's like, oh, mommy, there's a ghost over there. And then I was like, does she think there's a ghost? Because it's like, like we've been watching Halloween stuff, right? And I said, oh, Lennon, who's the ghost? And she goes, Nona, which is my grandmother, who she never met. So I'm like, okay, but I've always been like, when you see kids like just staring into the distance, I always sense like she was a baby. I'd be like, oh, Lennon, who's visiting you today? Because I want her to be open. Like, I don't want her to ever lose that. Because I feel like when we grow up, we just lose it. It's like we're kind of conditioned. Oh, like we're crazy or something. Like we're talking to like our imaginary friend, right? So I never wanted to do that. Yeah.
Yeah.
And the night she was born, or not the night she was born, the night she came home, so like the next day, I was sleeping and I woke up and I saw orbs, like a crazy amount of orbs over her crib. And I was like, okay, like they're all the spirits here, like she's surrounded by them.
Yeah.
And she's just so like she's obsessed with crystals. She's just, yeah, some of the stuff she says, I'm just like she pulled out a necklace I have of my Nonas and said, Nonas. And I'm like, how the hell does she know this stuff? Like, I didn't tell her that was my Nonas necklace.
Yeah.
So yeah, and then she's just, and then I have a cat that passed before I had her. And it looks like she looked similar to our new cat, Margot. So Lennon was on the couch and she's like, move, Margot, but Margot wasn't there. And I'm like, the cat's definitely where it's like where my old cat used to always like stay.
Wow.
So I'm like, this is, yeah.
Oh my
It's
goodness.
pretty cool. I love it. Like, I just love it.
Yeah. And I think like I'm such an advocate as well for, I love that there are so many parents right now who are having their own spiritual awakening, or they're going down their spiritual path, and they're relearning their gifts because, like you said, we have these. Like, it's just that we've been conditioned to either hide them or be called crazy or that wasn't real. And I'm sure you can relate to this, but like as a child, I remember being a little bit different, and like I could sense and feel things, and I'm still working through that in my own path. But I could just imagine, like, what would that be like to have parents who, not just for me, but for everyone, who supported their child to not be scared of ghosts, number one, and to, feel empowered around, oh, you're sensing something different. Like, let's feel into that. Like, to me, that's just such a beautiful gift of the generations that are coming. And they're already, like, on a spiritual level, astrology level, they have so many planets that are rooted in like Aquarius, Pisces, like all these outer planets that really kind of make them this like hugely spiritual generation. So it's just not ironic to me that they would have these like spiritual parents, because they chose them, like your daughter chose you. So
yeah, I love it. It's
yeah.
like, and I also find that like people are really drawn to her. I'm like, yeah, she's like adorable, but I feel like people are like really drawn to her. Like, they're always like, oh my God, like our neighbors all are like obsessed with her, and like they always want to like talk to her. And I'm like, yeah, I just feel like she has that like energy to her.
Yeah.
And I even started showing her how to do Reiki. And she'll go up to people and go, Reiki, Reiki, and she'll go chakra, 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 and she'll come up.
Oh my goodness. I can, like, that is the key.
It's adorable.
And like to have that, okay, I'm like, maybe there's like something coming up with their emotions, and to be able to like self-regulate with that.
Mm-hmm. I know.
Could you imagine if we had that?
No, it's like, I'm like, I love that I can teach her all this stuff.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You can grow up to learn how to do these things.
Oh my gosh. I feel like this is so expansive for, like, we haven't even dove into the Saturn stuff, but I feel like this is so expansive for parents. And like, I have quite a few friends who are now starting to have children, and just like I'm 30 now. So it's like quite a, it's happening. And so I feel like this would be very expansive for people who are starting to have kids. So thank you for sharing all of that.
No problem.
Oh, so cool. And we could have like a whole podcast on this.
Yeah. I love it.
Yeah.
I love it.
All right. So let's talk about your Saturn return story, because clearly your little light being child is part of it. But let's go back. So you've probably heard me talk about this, but and I've been getting a lot of DMs from people lately being like, well, I'm not like in my Saturn return yet, but I feel like everything is like falling apart, or like, I don't know what's going on. And I keep saying, like, how old are you? And it's like 26 to 27 is this age where people start to kind of like feel some sort of a shift. And I don't know if you can relate to this or not, but like almost like, ooh, I'm like moving out of my 20s and into this like new area where like I have no idea what I'm doing. And so I like to go back because that's the progressed lunar return phase. And so I'm curious for you, what was coming up in your life around like 26, 27, even into 28, but like that pre-Saturn era?
Yeah. So 26 to 27, I was planning my wedding. And then a week after I turned 27, I got married.
Okay.
So a lot happens for me around my birthday.
Yeah.
And then, so my previous career, I did like visual merchandising for retail stores. I did visual merchandising for retail stores. So I had always wanted to be in the office. Like, I wanted to work my way up and get into like the office, like to be planning that way. So a couple months after my 27th birthday, I finally landed my dream job that I'd been working forever for. And then around 27, 20 or 28, I got a promotion in that job. Yeah. So that's kind of what's happening for me. And one thing I found for me, manifesting. I've always been manifesting and I didn't really realize I was doing it. Like I always would write down before I got into like spiritual stuff. I was like, by then this time I thought it was just goal setting, right? And they always would come true. So I would always feel like I feel like things just are coming really easy to me. Like I always felt like just even getting married and then planning and then my job and then all this stuff, right? So it's like, I don't know, I just been always manifesting these things and I didn't even.
Yeah, you weren't even really like aware that you were doing it.
Then you use it.
Yeah, that's so wild. I feel like there are quite a few. I'll check your chart, but I'm very, very curious because there are some signs who are, well, it all depends like on your beliefs and everything. But if you're in alignment, obviously, then you can manifest. So, but for some signs, they have, I would say, less like gunk around their energy that allows them to manifest. Of course, there's so much that goes into that, but I will look after. But I'm just curious for you. So like you were doing this job, you were getting married, like things were like you're like, okay, like I'm moving through here, like I'm, moving forward. And so when you got to 28, because 28 seems to be this like time of, okay, if we're not in alignment, we're gonna shift. Or if we are in alignment, then like things kind of go forward because that's Saturn's job, right? He's like, okay, well, if we're going to help you here, but you got to do the work, you got to put it in. And just so you guys know, Sam's Saturn is in Capricorn in the 10th house of career and work. So this is somebody who does put in time and energy into the work that they do and in order to reach goals.
Right.
But I love how you said I was manifesting.
Yeah. It's crazy.
Yeah. So, okay, take us into like 28. So what's happening in your life around the age of 28?
So around the age of 28, I was working at my job. I was loving it. I came way up like I always wanted. But then that's around the time we started to kind of talk about kids. And when I was 27, around the time I started my new job, I met Jen Avra. Like I went for a group reading. Okay. And then my mom and I came regular. So that's when my spiritual journey actually started. I should have mentioned that. Because my mom and I have always like been into mediums and like watch all those shows, right? But we had never been to one. So we went for a group reading and we met Jen and then we became regulars and I went to Jen all the time. So actually when I was 28, I had a reading with Jen, which predicted my daughter. It was my Nona saying, she kept saying, I'm going to get pregnant in divine timing and not to stress out. She kept saying the number 3. I'm like, oh my God, I'm going to have triplets. Like, what the hell? Like, I was like freaking out. And this was like a year and a half before I got pregnant. So then I got pregnant when I was 29. So 28, I was basically just working on my career. Then 29, this is when I started to really connect with spirit and seeing signs with this number 3. So I got pregnant, but I didn't know I was pregnant at the time. I kept seeing 3s everywhere. Then I was on a work trip in Montreal. I opened a fortune cookie and it said, there's a pleasant surprise is waiting for you. And then it was all these numbers, like 3s, her birth, like my daughter's due date was on there, but I didn't even know I was pregnant at the time. So her due date was there. And I was just like, what the heck? Like, and then like I messaged my husband, I'm like, I'm pregnant. And I didn't find out I was pregnant until like a month later. But I just knew, I knew it. Like it's funny because I connected with spirit through mediumship, but never like I felt like a strong connection. And it was funny. I went for a reading with Jen after I booked a reading because I'm like, I want to know if my Nona says something about these 3s. And she didn't say anything. And I was like, I'm not going to bring it up to Jen. I just want to see. And she didn't say anything. I was so upset. And then like 2 weeks later, I found out I was pregnant. So,
they're like, we're not telling you the information you want. It's coming in divine timing.
Yeah. it was just crazy. So
Wow. Well,
yeah.
shout out Jen. We love Jen.
Yeah. I love Jen. Yeah.
Yeah. That's okay. So that's so interesting. So basically, like pre 29 or 28, 29, you're going through life, like you're
Yeah.
building your career, you're working up, plans, like you're like, I want to have a child. So you're kind of like focused on this. And then
Yeah.
would you say that connection to spirit? So it sounds like from what you're saying, like this spiritual journey just kind of like opened, would it be a new path to you and like how things started to unfold from there?
Yeah, for sure. So I think it was around that time too. Jen released her book.
Oh, right. Yeah.
I had bought her book and I was like, I always said I'm mediumship. And then I was like, I'm gonna do a mediumship course when I'm on mat leave, when I have more time. And I kept like pushing it off. But like it really opened my eyes to wanting to do that stuff. And I felt like there was something more for me to do. And I don't, when I had my daughter, I was like, kind of like, I don't know, I don't want to go back to work. Like I just felt like there was more for me. I don't
Yeah.
know. It was crazy. That's when it started to be like, I started to think to myself, oh, maybe there's like another path for me.
Ooh, that is so juicy. I feel like, okay,
Yeah.
I'm going to link Jen's book below because that also came to me at a very interesting time. And
Yeah.
I was reading it and I'm like, is this my life? Like, what is
Yeah.
it like? It was like, especially because she worked in the school and
Schools, yeah.
I was like reading it. I'm like, she went on a leave of absence. Like literally, I'm like, I am like, it was so weird. So I'll link it below. And I also want people to go and read that post that you did because you just shared it here, but I read it the other day with that fortune cookie post that you put up on Instagram.
Mhm.
And I was like,
Yeah.
literally had full chills reading it. I'm like, this is so like spirit does not lie. You
Yeah.
can't make this up.
Yeah.
It's
It's
so
like, it's crazy.
yeah. Does that stuff
Like
does that happen to you so much though because you are so open?
it does. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, like the past like 2 months, I've been seeing angel numbers like crazy. And I was starting to think about, okay, like I had one more time with my daughter because I had quit my job last year. So all of 2021, I had been focusing just on my business and being a mom, mostly being a mom. My business was always kind of part time. I would see clients at night or early morning distance Reiki.
Mm.
So my daughter was getting older and I was starting to think like, oh, I was starting to miss my career, my other career. So I was starting to think, oh, maybe I should. And then I kept seeing all these ones everywhere. Like I kept seeing numbers, 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 numbers. And I'm like, okay, if I meant to go back, someone will reach out to me. I'm not asking to go back. And then a month later, someone reached out to me.
Mm.
So I'm always like, and I'm really open to these signs and like trusting spirit. Like they know what's best for me. And I'm always talking to my Nona, who's one of my guides.
Yeah.
And I'm always like, Nona, like just tell me, like, give
Yeah.
me a sign. And it's funny, like I used to do this stuff before I was open to my mediumship stuff because I don't know, I just felt like I was just talking to them, like not realizing they're talking back.
Yeah.
I just be like, Nona, give me a sign, or like if I meant to do this, it'll happen, kind of thing, right?
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah. So so you kind of always knew that there was something, but you weren't like super tuned in
Yeah.
before you went into this. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's so wild. Yeah, it's amazing. And clearly, like you're a Pisces. By the way, you have like when I was looking at your chart, I'm like, you literally have one, two, three, four planets in the sign of Pisces in the 12th house. So like for people who know astrology, obviously she is a psychic medium. You have the sun, Venus, North Node, and Mercury there. So Mercury being in Pisces at like in the 12th house, it's like you're communicating through the spiritual realm, through the like things you can't see. It's like, of course. Which is just so
So
wild.
like I did my mediumship mentoring with Ashley,
Mm.
mermaid medium, or she's not my medium anymore, but I'm with Ashley. And I remember being like, this is just coming really easy to me. And I would like second guess it a lot. Cause I would be like, am I like, do I know what I'm like, is it just me? Like, am I thinking I'm thinking this stuff? But it like came really easy to me. Like it felt like it was easy. Like it just felt so natural to me.
Yeah.
Which is like, yeah.
Oh, that's such a beautiful feeling. Like,
Yeah.
yeah. And obviously like there's stuff that comes with it where we're deconditioning, like we said. So, I'm sure there's been processes in that for you as well. But so, okay, you were talking about how you had this career and then you switched into a business. And I love this because this has been a big theme on the people who I've had on the podcast, because I've been interviewing people who, for the most part, have had Capricorn or Saturn in Capricorn. And it is about creating a new structure in your life. So, of course, you had a baby, which is a new structure, but you also started a business. So, can you tell us more about that?
Yeah. So, during my year of having London, I was kind of just being a mom. And then I went back to work in March. And then 4 days later, the pandemic hit. So I was like, sign, I wasn't supposed to go back to work. Yeah. So I was working from home and I was miserable. And I was like, I just need more for me. And that's when I started to like work on myself and my business. And I did my Reiki trainings, my media mentorship. I did it all in 2020.
You did all of that in 2020?
Yeah. All my Reiki. I became a Reiki master. I started my Reiki and, well, sorry. Yeah. I did it all in 2020. Became a Reiki master in 2021.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Okay, we have so many parallels and like it's so interesting, but it's like that is the definition of like, okay, like the fire's under my butt here. Like I'm not happy in what I'm doing. So like what can I do to help myself? And that Capricorn energy just like kicked in for you and was like, let's go. Like let's make this happen.
Yeah.
Which is this is so amazing. So okay, so you did your Reiki, you did your medium also in 2020. Medium.
And I became a yoga teacher in 2020 as well.
And okay, and this is just like
and I was a mom and working full time.
Okay, you can literally do anything. Like this is
I honestly don't know how I did it. Like I would wake up really early to study for my yoga stuff. And then I was determined, like I'm doing this. And then even like Jen, like I signed up for my Reiki level 1 because she's my Reiki master. And then I'm like, can I sign up for 2 too? Or is it like too quick? She's like, oh my God, like this is meant to be. And when I did my Reiki master, I remember saying to Jen, like some of the girls in the course were having a hard time picking up because it's a lot. You're doing a Reiki master, right?
Yes. Yeah.
It's a lot, right? So I remember like I had like deja vu, like I've done this before. I was like to Jen, I definitely was a Reiki master in my like past life because it was like coming so easy. And I'm like, what? Like I've done this before. Obviously I haven't in this lifetime, but it was the weirdest thing. I was like, wow, like I meant to be doing this. It was like,
yeah.
Yeah,
I know what you mean in a sense, because it's like when I also started my Reiki level 1. I did in 2020 on March 7th.
Oh my God.
Like it gives me chill. It was the last in person, like and you know what it's like if you have done your Reiki level 1, it's like nothing you've ever experienced before in your life. Like it, and I remember going back to work for, I think it was because I was working in a school, and I think we had a week before everything got shut. Well, it was March break. And then I remember just being like so not there, like everything. It was so weird. And I was like on this cloud of Reiki level 1. And then I did my Reiki level 2 in April in 2020 as well. And then now I'm doing my Reiki level 3, so finishing it. And it's interesting because there's been a lot of resistance around like me doing it. But before I even started, I was having like dreams about myself doing it. I've had dreams about myself doing it on animals, which I don't even have any pets.
Yeah.
So like, I don't know. And then all of a sudden animals are like, I don't know if you see my Instagram, but like dogs are just coming up to me. I'm like,
Yeah.
what the heck?
Yeah.
So I do
Yeah.
I
It's
know
so amazing.
it's just like, it's a different frequency of energy, and it's such a blessing, but it does feel like home. And that
Yeah.
is like, that's how you know when something is for you. Like if it feels like home, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I
For
love
sure.
that. So
Yeah.
you've done all of this. Like people, this is Capricorn energy, by the way. Like this is so on point. So you did all this, you did your yoga teacher, you did your Reiki and your mediumship. And then what happened after all of that?
Yeah. So like I feel like the pandemic helped me in a way because for my yoga teacher training, they made it online because of the pandemic.
Mhm.
Whereas I have been wanting to do this for years, but it was always on weekends. And I'm like working full time. I'm like, I don't want to spend my weekends. As much as I wanted to do it, I'm like, I don't want to, like, I want to relax because it's draining when you're working 40 plus hours a week.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's like, okay, perfect. Like, this is happening at home. And I also feel like just having my daughter, London, it made me feel like I need to do better for her, if that makes sense. Like, I need her to see that there's more to life than just working 9 to 5 and help. I want to like show her like to help people and to like go after her dreams. Because like I honestly could see her doing this kind of path when she's older.
Yeah. That's really
She
beautiful.
just,
It makes me like cry.
yeah,
Is that Pisces?
like, she, yeah. Honestly, having her like really changed my life. It just made me see things in a different way, and it like finally made me finally go after these things you always wanted to do. But I was always like, I'm comfortable. What, right? Like, whatever. It is what it is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. So she was kind of, you know, what's interesting is Ashley actually talked, was it Ashley or it might have been Bri? Anyway, there's been a few people on the podcast who have had kids, and many of them have said like having a child like helped be like a catalyst to like push towards what they felt in their soul that they wanted to do, or like whether it even be like one of them was like raising their prices, like this isn't just for me now, like this is about my child as well, and like time. And that's so beautiful. And it's also something I feel like, as somebody who hasn't had children yet, I hope to, it's like that's great advice to hear, because like to implement that now as if it's going to happen one day, I feel like that could be very beneficial. Yeah. Love
For
that.
sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
Yeah. So, okay. So what are you doing now? So how you've got a Reiki business, you're, and you at a yoga studio, right? You're working at a yoga studio?
Yeah, I had to take a break right now, but I was actually teaching a Reiki restorative yoga class, which was amazing.
What is
So I did, so I would do, so in normal times, I would go up to my students and place
Yeah.
my hands on them because of COVID, I have to sit on my mat. I do distance Reiki, but it's like amazing. Like it's very restorative. I start the class with a chakra balancing meditation, and then I move into doing distance Reiki on people. And it's been really amazing because I've had students say to me, I feel so much better after. But the best one I had, because I always know people feel better energy wise, but I had a student who had broken a rib, and it was her first class back since she broke her rib. She said to me, she's like, I don't know what you did, but like the pain went away after the class. And that was my first time like hearing, like I know Reiki can heal like that. That was my first time because most people come to me for energy. It's not for a broken rib, right? So I'm like, oh my God, this is amazing. And that was doing distance Reiki because so many people are like, what, distance Reiki? Like they don't,
Yeah.
sometimes they don't think it does anything, but it's strong.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that was really cool.
That's
So
so
hopefully in the next couple months I'll be back teaching.
yeah,
Fingers
that's
crossed.
such an amazing, like, that would be such a amazing experience to go to. And yeah, hopefully there's more of that to come.
Yeah.
I would eat that up. Like I would just come and be like, yes.
Yeah, because honestly, like it's so restorative. Like you just lay there and do poses on your back, basically. You just like, right?
Yeah.
I
Yeah. So
love
amazing.
it. But yeah, so I do that. I actually just booked up for the rest of this year for my Reiki and mediumship clients. So I'm so excited. Yeah. Yeah.
Yay! That's such a big thing to celebrate.
Yeah. And I haven't announced this yet. I was going to wait till I came on here for my new business for next year. Like, not my new business. I was really just going through my offerings, and I've been working with a friend to test out this new thing.
Yeah.
So it's going to be a month to heal, because I find there's a lot of power in seeing someone every week. And I give them, so what I've been testing it, so it's going to be a month to heal. Each week they'll have a Reiki session plus a one-on-one with me, like kind of soul guidance with me, like that will tie in mediumship. And then I'm going to be giving them tools every week, like homework on things to do to heal their energy. Because I find a lot of my Reiki clients, I'll send them a little guide. I always send them after, like what to do to keep their energy healed or whatever. But I've been feeling really called to just spend a month with each person and offer it that way, because I feel like it's just very beneficial for them and they'll get a lot more out of it. So it kind of is like a course to heal themselves, but with also me giving them Reiki energy. So I'm really excited to launch that in January. And that's kind of going to be my sole focus. Like I'm going to just take on a couple clients a month and work with them that way.
That is so beautiful. That sounds like such a beautiful offer. And yeah, like the integration piece is something that I feel like, we can do so much, but sometimes we do need help to like longer support to actually help integrate things. Like,
yeah.
And that's so beautiful to have both. Like, yes, you're helping them, but you're also teaching people to like, you can heal yourself. Like you have this within you. I'm just here as like a support to help guide you through that. And I think that's amazing. So I love that you shared that here. First time.
Yeah.
Yay.
Yeah. I'm excited. And I'm going to be like really catering my Instagram feed to just giving tips on how to self-heal. Because I think it's so important. And I just want to be able to help people. Because I feel like people don't realize how powerful they are. And like, and even like the power of meditation every day.
Yeah.
Like just taking that time for yourself, or like just sitting in silence, or like just listening to a song, like just to start your day. Like it makes such a big difference. So I just really want to help people.
Yeah, I love that so much. It's so beautiful. And it sounds very aligned for you. And like, now that you've come out of this Saturn return, you're on the other side now. And often what happens with people who are kind of coming out of their Saturn return is there is a period. I haven't talked about this much on the podcast, but there can be a period between like 33 and 35, which is sort of this like testing ground, like, hey, you learned all this stuff. What are you going to do with it? And it's a chance in between then to really implement, like, what did I learn? What did I take on during that time? So it sounds like, you are listening to your Saturn. By Saturn is our teacher. Yours is about creating a new structure and system, yes, within your career, but your Pisces is like, how can I help people?
Yeah.
So it's beautiful.
Yeah. And it's crazy because I'm 33 in March.
There's those three.
Yeah. I'm 33 in March. Yeah. So I'll be 33 and Lennon will be 3 in March.
So oh my gosh. Amazing. Yeah. That's so like, I love it. That 333. That's so amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, okay. What would you say, like, if you had a word to describe how your Saturn return journey was, is like, what would you describe it?
That's a good question. I'm always so bad at thinking of like one words. Yeah. I honestly felt like it was just an amazing experience for me. Like for me, it wasn't one of those things that, because I know it can be hard on a lot of people, but for me, it felt like such a smooth transition. Like I had this feeling like this is always what I was meant to be doing.
I love that.
I like slowly transition, and like it was like the perfect time. And I always say everything happens for a reason. So it was pretty crazy.
It's so nice to hear someone's perspective of like that side, because you're right, there is a lot of hype around it being really tough. And hearing you say like I trusted and I followed, like of course things come up during our journey and like things are tough, but hearing that it was a smooth transition, that is very, I hope that that helps a lot of people, because ease some of that fear would be very nice.
Yeah. That's what I always say to people, like in anything, just trust it. Like it's happening to you for a reason, right?
Yeah, I love that. So what would you say then? Like, if you had advice, would you say that to them? Like people who are going through their Saturn return, or?
Yeah, I would just say honestly, trust the process and trust the universe, because they're not going to lead you. It's not in the wrong direction. Like it's going to lead you exactly where you're meant to be. Like I always say that, like everything happens for a reason. You might not. I posted a reel the other day because I heard this like soundtrack and I'm like, this is so right. You don't realize your current obstacles, but in a couple months you're going to look back and be like, wow, like this is exactly, like I had to take a break from teaching my yoga and I was really upset about it. And then a month later I started to realize, okay, like other things are falling into place. Like I was meant to like take that break from yoga, or these other things maybe wouldn't have fallen into place. Like that's one thing I did do, was I feel like I did a lot in 2020 that I didn't have a clear mindset on like one thing. So when that yoga kind of fell to the side for a little bit, I was like, now I can really concentrate on my Reiki. And I loved like adding Reiki and spiritual mediumship like together. So yeah, I feel like that's the thing. Just always trust what's
Yeah. Wow.
happening and happens for a reason.
Yeah, such good advice. And I do feel like that is a really good thing to kind of anchor into during any journey in life, and especially the Saturn return. It's like, okay, because like sometimes there's going to be obstacles, but like if you can, feel into that, that's really powerful. Cool. Okay. So I want to ask you like a fun astrology question.
Okay.
Yeah, these are super fun. I asked like, I don't know, if I think you know a little bit about astrology, so hopefully you can maybe answer this. But if you had to go on a trip with someone to a deserted island, what sign would you go with and which sign would you not go with?
Like I would go with a Cancer or a Pisces because my husband's a Cancer.
Okay.
And I feel like we're just like the way we interact, we're just like, I don't know what sign I wouldn't go with. Maybe Tauruses are really stubborn, right? I think Taurus really stubborn. Yeah, maybe not with a Taurus.
Yeah.
Even though my moon is Taurus and I can be stubborn. But definitely a Cancer, just because my husband's a Cancer and I just know that we're like such a strong match together energetically and stuff. So
yeah, I love that so much. How does he feel about you having a spiritual business?
He's very supportive. He's always been very supportive of me. And it's funny because when I first started seeing a medium, he's like, whatever. Like, how do they know? They looked you up, blah, 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 right? And then once I started going more, he was like, wow. And like everything that happened with my pregnancy, he was like, oh my God. And then when he sees London, he's like, this is so amazing. Like, she said, Papa's umbrella. She's like saying all this stuff. And he'll like talk to her about it too. Wow. So it's pretty awesome. Yeah. But yeah, he's been very supportive of me. Like, we've been together 14 years in November. And like, I flip-flop on so many things since like graduating high school. I'm like, I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna do that, I'm gonna do this, right? And he's like, okay, whatever makes you happy, makes you happy. Yeah. So he's very supportive of it. Yeah.
That's amazing. I think that says a lot about, him as a person, and cancers are like quite like that Cancer and Pisces mix. They're very connected because they're both water signs. So
Yeah.
I love that so much. And then you have
Yeah.
a little Pisces daughter. There's so much water in your
I
house.
know. I know. And we
So
love the water too.
yeah, so much emotion, so much like intuition. Wow. Loving it. Cool.
Yeah. Pretty funny though, eh?
Yeah.
Yeah. All the water signs.
Yeah. Just
Yeah.
you're just missing Scorpio.
Yeah. I should look up my husband's sun, moon, and rising.
Yeah, see what his mix is. That would be
Yeah.
very, very interesting.
Yeah. Yeah.
Cool. Well, I love this so much. This has been super amazing to have you on. You told us a little bit about your offerings, but where can people find you? And I know you just said you're booked up, but like for
Yeah.
2022, where can people come and
Yeah.
work with you?
Yeah. So I am booked, but I do still offer distance Reiki because I do those early morning, which they usually don't book up because people want virtual. So I do have distance Reiki available still. But you can find me at Spiritually Sam on Instagram, and you can find my website there too, spirituallysam.com.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'll link everything below. So, yeah, definitely go and say hello. And I just want to say thank you as well, especially because you had like I just feel like this has been such a refreshing conversation because it's been not a like doom and gloom. Saturn return, like not that
Yeah.
there's doom and gloom, but like
No.
so I just appreciate this a lot. And it's just so fun to connect with you semi in real life.
Kind of in person. Yeah. Maybe hopefully one day we'll get to meet in person. Because your family's in Ontario, right?
Yes. And
Yeah.
I keep seeing these like retreat centers that and I keep seeing like all the people who we've connected with online, like being in one place. And I talked to Jen about this and Ashley. And I was
Yeah.
like, I know, like I can feel it. And it would be such a dream of mine because I love bringing people together to like plan that. Like I don't like planning, but like I'll figure it out.
Yeah.
But like just like bringing everyone together and like creating this like space, and everyone can like offer some of their own things, and it's like beautiful food and like dance parties. Like
Yeah.
that is the jam.
Yeah. Oh my God. It would be so It
Yeah.
would be so fun. Yeah.
I'm
For
picturing it
sure.
in Costa Rica, so we'll see what happens.
That sounds pretty nice.
Yeah.
Weren't you looking up manifesting moving there?
Yeah.
Was it
So
Costa Rica?
not really sure what's happening with my life, but there are
Yeah.
a lot of clues and synchronicities. Like between Costa Rica and Bali, I keep getting random gyms adding me, random
Oh,
co-working spaces in Bali and Costa Rica adding me. Like it's so wild. And my goal and dream has always been I want to be able to be like a digital nomad so I can like work wherever and like work in different places in the world. So whether that be like, oh, maybe I'm doing Reiki in like Costa Rica for a little bit and like
yeah.
doing whatever there. And then I can kind of move about and then plus have a tiny home somewhere located, just always never moving, but we'll see.
Yeah. Like you're meant to do that.
Yeah. Oh, well, we'll see.
Yeah. I feel like you are.
To be continued.
Yeah.
I love it so much. Well, thank you so much for being here. I love being in your energy.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, fellow Pisces rising.
Yeah.
And yeah, I will link everything below so everyone can come and say hello to the Spiritual Sam on Instagram. And yeah, don't forget to like this video if you're on YouTube, leave a rating and review over on Apple if you're listening to it there. And as I always say, don't forget, go live your dreams. And Saturn is always listening. So I will see you guys in our next episode. Bye.